Hello there, doctor. Welcome back to the Dr. Boss podcast. So today episode, what we're going to talk about is what AI tool should you be using as a physician entrepreneur on a day-to-day basis, and what other things you should think about. Because I didn't know about AI until end of 2023 when ChatGPT came out, but my colleague here, Dr. Mike Wu Ming, has been using AI way before that. And today we're just going to ask him some essential tools that he used and what else that we need to know as a physician entrepreneur that should be in your toolbox that you can use every day to make your productivity and work a lot easier. Okay, Mike.
Hey, and thanks. Yeah, so I've been using AI not too much earlier than you. I just was an early adopter just because I like to nerd out on these kind of things on in there and make my life a little bit easier. Yeah, so we're going to talk about the tools that I use on a regular basis. And first, we have to start off with ChatGPT. That's the one that I use primarily on the hour every day that I'm using it, not just for personal use, but for business use, but also as personal use. So ChatGPT was started by OpenAI. I use the paid version, so everything that I'm going to talk about here is using the paid version. I just use the $20 paid version. There are more expensive ones. I don't think you really need that unless you're using it to really crunch numbers or really need some high intensive use of it. The way that I use ChatGPT, number of different ways. Let's start with like my practice. So in our practice, we use ChatGPT to analyzing my own business. So I've used it for looking at our own profit and losses. We take our statements, we get information using our EMR, like what is our revenue, what are our expenses. We used it on a semi-regular basis, just looking to see what our numbers are. It helps me analyze very quickly expenses. Are we paying too much on this vendor? Are I paying for some memberships that I'm not using? Looking into that, could I be using it? Could I be putting in the money in different ways into different types of marketing? So we use it to analyze that. Second way that I use it is looking over contracts. I know with physicians, we have so many contracts. And yes, you can hire an attorney to do that. And I do recommend an attorney to finalize looking at things. But I get so many different things, from signing up with new vendors, or signing up working with a new nurse practitioner, doing a collaborative agreement. So many different things, hiring employees, setting up a new job contract on there. Just dotting our I's, crossing our T's. And basically, I have used contracts, looking at our own stuff. Where are some areas that we should be improving on? I'm in the state of California. There's new changes and regulations every year. We need to make sure that we're up to date. And that's what I use ChatGPT. It really is my kind of workhorse for it. Yeah. So those
Yeah,
really cover my
actually,
life. I use my practice.
so the question I want to ask you, and I use ChatGPT too, is especially the paid for version, is that how to prompt, how to use the prompt that you get the output that you want. When I first used it, I was being too general. Then I found out, okay, you need to be more detailed. But what I noticed is like it's almost like user dependent. So what are some of the things that you recommend when you're putting in prompts so that way you can get the best output?
Yeah, so when I first got into ChatGPT, it was all about the prompts. It was all about making sure that the initial instructions that you're giving to the AI is to be as specific and as detailed as you can. So often would be, let's say I'm doing an analysis of my practice. I would say it's like, okay, ChatGPT, you are a marketing analyst, or you are a clinic analyst, and you are exemplary in terms of marketing and looking at the numbers. And I would have this very long paragraph of what exactly would be, and then it would spit out the information. What I found time is when you're using like your own version, the analyst kind of learns from you. So my initial statements is actually kind of very general. And then based upon that, I think what the power is the kind of the follow-up instructions on in there. So it'll give me some information, and I load it up with documents that I've had to help educate them. They could be like, I'm analyzing my practice. It might have like my mission statement of my practice. It might have bank statements of where my expenses are. It might have contracts that I have with different employees, and they put all that information in there. And then it spits out some type of information. But usually the initial information that I get needs to have some fine tuning. So recently I'm doing an analysis of my practice, and I'm saying, okay, I want you to do some competitive research. Who are the top 5 or 10 competitors in my area? And then maybe I give you information, but I say, oh, I want you to do all of California. And then I realize, no, I need something more specific. I want to be just within my region, within my city. And then I need to have them do some more follow-up. And then I say, oh, okay, maybe I just need it within a few miles on in there. And then it'll give me some competitors. And then I might find out, oh, there's some competitors that really are not competitive with me. And then I need to say, well, I'm going to use something else to do a deep analysis. And I want you to, and with deep analysis, it's like, I want you to go on the web and I want you to locate companies out there, and I want you to analyze their websites, and I want you to really hone what are the most competitive. And it might give me more information. And then I think it's a lot of give and take is what it is. They'll give you some information. It may not be as accurate as you would want. And then you really need to fine tune it. So I don't think there's like one giant prompt that spits out everything 100%. It's a lot of give and take. And what I've learned is like some of the best information that you can get, I've learned for just like you hiring somebody, they give you some work, but then you need to have this back and forth until you really get the work that you want. Makes sense.
Yeah, no, that's definitely makes sense. So what are the other 5 essential? So we got ChatGPT. What's the next one?
So, and again, with ChatGPT, and I say this anytime I talk about AI, one thing that you have to be careful. It is your information. So if you're not comfortable getting that information, you want to make sure that there's there's privacy stuff that you have to worry about in there. So I'm just giving you, just before you put in any information, if there are bank statements, if there's anything in here that you don't want them to know about, don't put it in ChatGPT. But ChatGPT is kind of my workhorse. I use it for my practice. I use it for simple things. Yesterday, my son lives on our property, and he saw a scorpion in the house, and the scorpion ran in. And I said, okay, what's the best way to trap a scorpion on there? So personal things on there, and I just use my phone. We'll see a bug, and my wife wants to know what kind of bug that is. We take a picture of it, and then it tells me what kind of bug that is. So just kind of simple stuff that I use, and I'm sure a lot of our artists are using different things as well. So ChatGPT is my number 1. My number 2 for using AI is Perplexity. I know you use this as well. I use Perplexity as my 2025 alternative to Google search. When I want to find recent information, when I want to find, like today at the time of the recording, a football game is on. I wanted to know what time is that football. I use Perplexity to tell me what it is, what channel is it. I don't pay too particular attention, what channel is it, and it gives me that information. I'm using it for weather. I'm using it for what's going on in the news right now, what's going on with politics on in there. I'm using Perplexity to find the best, most recent information that I can. I'm using it, and again, as a replacement for Google.
So why is it better than Google?
I just think, one, Google also is using AI, and Google is now trying. If you haven't noticed, Google used to be about giving you the best websites on in there. Now, when you search on Google, the information that you're getting is what is the AI response to this. So my wife and I were watching some TV show, and it focused on this actress, and I wanted to know more about this actress, and the AI gave me information about this actress, what movie she's in, whereas before maybe we would use something like an IMDb movie database to tell them all the different movies, or a Wikipedia page. Now AI is coming to the top of that. I think what Perplexity does is it also gives you like references. So if you're like looking at anything, you can actually then give you some information about a particular topic, but then it would have references where you can go and you can do your own research to find out exactly what that is. And then what I like about it is it also gives you like, oh, well, let's say I was looking up something about getting our pool cleaned and in there. And I said, why is my pool so green? And it tells me all the reasons why, but then it also gives you like, here are some things that you can ask about. Oh, it's about algae. It's about this. It's about that, putting in a different chemical. And then it gives you like more specific questions that it can then lead me to a more intricate or more specific path. So that's why I like Perplexity. And I just find that having the references in there, it just seems having more recent information, giving me other than just an AI response that Google is not doing. I think right now it's making it more superior. It could change. Google is trying to be the
Mm-hmm.
on it, but for right now, I like Perplexity.
Okay, yes, I love Perplexity too, and I trust it more because they give you the resources. So
Yeah.
it'll say something and it'll put a number that this is the resource, so you can always fact check it with the resource. Versus like with ChatGPT, sometimes you may not have a resource to fact check. And doctors, those are the ones that if you are doing podcasts or you're on YouTube, that's my go-to for research. So if I have a topic and I want to research on it, I'll go Perplexity, and then I'll also check the resource that they gave to double check as well. And then sometimes I'll do that, and then I'll even get more narrowed down on the topic, the content that I want to do as well. So it's a starting point for me, and then I add more and I research more, and then I add in my own take on it. So one research on Perplexity can give me like three content ideas for YouTube. That's my go-to almost every time I produce content for YouTube, and even including this podcast that we're doing. So and I think the paid version is the pro version is also $20 as well too. What about number three?
Number three is I like Claude. So that's Claude. Started by a company called Anthropic. I think it's how you
Mhm.
say it. I use it just because I think with ChatGPT, and ChatGPT is improving. Sometimes when you read text that was AI generated, you can kind of tell. So it sounds a little bit robotic. It says it a certain way that oftentimes if you read a lot of text, this is an AI generated text. I think Claude is superior in terms of being a more quote human, using more natural writing in responses. So I often use it in helping me with responses for patients or for my email or
Mm,
in entrepreneurship, the importance of storytelling or having creative writing in there. I've often had it where I think Chat GPT limits itself. So let's say I'm doing a presentation, but let's say I'm doing a presentation, I want Chat GPT to give me an outline of a presentation. Well, let's say I'm lazy and I say, what I want you to give me, I don't want to think. I want you to give me a word by word script of what I can do. Chat GPT kind of does it. Claude will give you the whole thing, give you a 30-minute presentation on there and using that more high quality human like language generation than ChatGPT was. I also like Claude because with ChatGPT remembers everything, which it can be both a pro and a con. I have my own Dr. Mike who made ChatGPT when I wanted to remember things about like producing content. So like in my ChatGPT, I have my book, I have all of my episodes that I've done in podcasting with a solo and also with you as well. So again, Claude doesn't have any memory. You can start from the beginning, and that gives you better control of how you want the data to be analyzed. And so there are some incognito parts to Claude which can be very useful. If you're starting from scratch, you don't want it to be biased. Yes. So I think sometimes with ChatGPT, it gets biased in the way that you're doing. Let's say you're doing something that you're searching for something, but maybe it's not based upon yourself. Maybe it's based on another person or a staff member. ChatGPT knows everything what you're doing. When you're starting with Claude, it can often start with a clean slate.
Oh, so Claude doesn't have memory of past chats.
Exactly.
Every time you do a new chat, it's like new, everything new. It doesn't
Everything,
unless you put in a space. Does it have a space or a workbook or
everything is
something?
new. I think there is now some things that they're doing, but you have to opt it in if you want it to have some type of memory, and you put it under. I don't know what it's called in Claude. It's like with projects. We do projects with ChatGPT.
Uh-huh.
Kind of the same thing. It could maybe it's called Spaces, but it has their own thing. But I just use it where I just want to start with a clean slate. I don't want them to know what I'm doing, and so that's what I use Claude for.
Right. I essentially use Claude for the same thing. I generate it's so funny. I'll put an email in Chat GPT and I'll copy that and I'll put that in Claude and said, make this better and
Yes.
use storytelling. And so it's essentially using two AI to build on top of each other to write emails. And for doctors that are, if you're online and if you're sending email to your patient or to your prospect, consider Claude to write your email because I think it does do a better job. But I also heard that Claude can sometimes make things up as well too, right?
Both, both ChatGPT and almost all AI does what we call hallucinations, where they make up things, which in Fathom, I think that tends to do it a little bit more than Claude. It kind of makes up things. So you really have to be very specific and call out your AI. Just stop making up stuff. I get mad at my AI. You're making up stuff.
So you actually literally will put
Yeah.
that in the prompt. Do not hallucinate. Do not make up.
Do not hallucinate. Or it'll give me information and I can tell that, let's say it's helping us write a sales letter and then it's making up income claims or making up some things that you don't want. You want to be authentic. You want to be transparent. It's making up testimonials. And I said, get this out of here. I just want you to give me accurate information here.
I see. Yeah, I noticed that too. So what's number 4?
Number 4 is Fathom. And I use it a lot of times for work. I do quite a bit of telemedicine. And we use Fathom on a regular basis. We're recording when I'm doing a consultation with a patient on there. I know most of you now are familiar with that. It's giving me a transcript. It's giving me a summary of it. It's helping me put together my soap notes. So I'm using that information, using Fathom, and again, a beautiful transcript on it. Just makes my life a little bit easier.
So you're using it as a scribe.
I'm using it as a transcription, right? Very reliable,
okay.
Easy to set up. And recently I just got accepted to look at Google's new thing because they're probably want to take that over as well. I just have started that, so I can't tell you what it is. I know it integrates with Google Meet, the Google Meets version of teleconferencing. But yeah, Fathom I use on a regular basis. And yeah, I don't think there's too much to say about that.
Yeah.
I've used Otter.
Yeah.
I've used a few others. Fathom right now is my favorite one.
Yeah. Now, do you have to use it in Zoom or can you use it outside of Zoom?
I've been using it in Zoom primarily because I use a Zoom account and the companies I use Zoom. So I'm not sure the answer on that. Right now, I'm just using it on Zoom.
Right. So the reason why I asked is that because lately I have Otter downloaded onto my phone and I bring it to the room when I'm seeing patients and it records the conversation and generate a summary very similar to what Fathom is. It generates the summary for me. And I usually just kind of copy that summary and action item for the patient. So it's almost like a patient to-do list that they need to do. Though I have not asked Otter to write me a soap note from it. So when you did mention that Fathom had that ability to do that, is it within the software itself?
Yeah, it's in my interface. So when you do Fathom, and I have like individual video sessions, and I just click on that, and if I want to see the video, I can. But then I can also see the summary that it puts together, and then the transcript.
Okay. Yeah, I also have Fathom too, but the only way I know how to use it is really in Zoom. I didn't know if you can use it off Zoom platform, but I wonder how many other platforms can it integrate with as well.
Researching as we speak on this, and it says Google Meet also works on Fathom. So
Oh, okay. Well, Google Meet also work with Fathom, but can you download it as an app on your phone and then bring it to the room like I do with Otter?
I've never done that. Basically,
Yeah.
I'm using it on my laptop. Fathom acts as a Google Chrome extension. And then as soon as I turn on my Zoom, it turns itself on. Fathom turns on too. And it acts
Mhm.
as a participant, a silent participant in my video sessions.
Right. Awesome. Okay. So Fathom to record telemedicine visit and summarize it, and then also to do your soap note. And that's great because I also use Fathom, but I also use Otter as well too. Okay. So what's number 5?
Well, I think before we go number 5, I do have some honorable mentions. So here's the thing. We outsource a lot, or we have virtual assistants. So I can't say I use personally these things but we use it for a lot in terms of content creation. One I have used is gamma.app. Gamma puts together presentations on there. So if you want to change your boring PowerPoint presentation, it can spruce it up a bit. You do have to it does suffer with a lot of AI stuff doing. If you're just saying, hey, just create a presentation on it, it'll just go wild and it create everything. It'll create the AI, create pictures. It's not the best in terms of doing all of that. So oftentimes what I use it is I'll create my PowerPoint presentation and then I'll basically use it to like, hey, create some AI photo in this or use something like that. I'm not using it to create more content. It's one of the paid tools that I have. Canva, as most you know, the very popular image to create images, to create logos, we use it for content for our websites. We use it for our practice marketing. We're making brochures or we're making postcards, etc. We're also using Canva to help create AI images. And so we use that. And again, that's what my assistant does. And then the third one I want to mention is Descript. So I use Descript in podcasting for quite a bit. We use it to help remove like the ums and the ahs that we say, or the awkward silences that we sometimes have. It helps edit those kind of things. But now we've been using it for video. And so my partner uses it to create AI video. It's getting better and better. And then recently we just used it to create a commercial for one of our startups. And we're using it to create an onboarding we're using it for a startup for new clients. And we're using an onboarding 2 to 3 minute AI video.
So it can generate video? It can generate video. You just give it the prompt?
Yep. You give it the prompt. You have to, like it's anything, you have to have some type of massaging on it. The onboarding, we use some stock video on it as well. But yeah, put together an AI video talking head to help with an onboarding.
Yeah, and now when you say onboarding staff or onboarding patients?
Onboarding patients.
Onboarding?
Onboarding patients, onboarding clients. Yeah. It's like, oh, hey, you just purchased this. Here's your next step. You have to go this is what you can expect. You're going to get an email from this. You're going to get this. So really excited about using that.
Oh, so that's Descript. I didn't know Descript can do that.
Yes. Yeah. Same
Okay.
when I was doing audio, now doing video.
Wow. All right. Very good. Well, I have to check that out, honestly. I've been meaning to do something like that as well for our patient and also for onboarding new staff. Okay. So what's number 5?
So number 5 is one that anybody could use. It's free. It's a Notebook LM. It's Notebook LM is by Google. Also goes by Gemini or Google Labs on it. And I've been using it more often as like a note-taking and a kind of a research assistant. So what's good is if you're like wanting to create a new project on something, it could create anything that's Google that you have on Google on your Google Drive. So that could be Google Docs. It could be YouTube videos. It could be Google Slides on there. And then what it can do is you can give all of that information and then it could create, let's say I want to create all this information and I want to create a book based upon all of these different documents that you have. You can use Notebook LM for that. So again, I use AI in both my professional and personal life. I had this pickleball project where I wanted to create all these YouTube videos that I acquired and I wanted them to create me like a training for me. And so what it did is it took all these YouTube links and then it created like a 10-week training session that I could do based upon all of these pickleball educators in there. You can also use it for, and again, this has been out for a while. Let's say you've got all of these different documents. It can create an audio summary of it in a kind of podcast style where you have these 2 AI talking heads that be another way of you learning something on there. So you can use it just another way of learning different things on there. And again, it's free. What's better than free? So if you're looking for using it to do research, you want it to acquire lots of different content and information, and you want to do it with no cost, Notebook LM is your way to go.
Interesting. So you don't use Notebook to do research. You're using it more to kind of repurpose content.
I'm using it as a compile. If I want to compile a lot of information together. So existing things that you've had, documents, PDFs, and because ChatGPT can do it, Claude really can't do it because there's limited by memory on in there. But if you want to, I found it best as the best research compiler. I felt Google is the best way for me to use it.
Okay, so Notebook LM. Now that I have not used yet because I didn't understand what it does, and maybe I'll play around with it. And sometimes doctors, be careful. And I don't know about you, but when I start playing with AI, I tend to go in a rabbit hole and just play around with it and play around with it. Next thing I know, it's like, oh my God, 2 hours passed and I'm playing around with. But once how to use it, it definitely do help. Before, you would have to hire a copywriter to write emails and pay thousands and thousands of dollars. Now you can just use AI for email that is maybe not the top copywriter, but definitely will do the job for what you need in your business. So these AI are supposed to help, but not replace, obviously not replace your authentic voice. And certainly I am not a proponent of using AI to produce a clone of yourself and then make a YouTube video of it. I mean, at least now you can tell it's AI. It's not authentic and it doesn't look personalized. Now, it's okay to do it maybe a 30-second or so, but not for a whole video because you can tell. You can tell even in a video that it is AI. It looks too good. It really makes you look really, really good. Sometimes what makes us look human is our asymmetry of the face and the facial expressions. And AI can't do what I'm doing right now. This is me and like
Not
it's
yet.
Mike.
Not yet. Not
Not
yet.
yet.
Maybe,
No, no, no,
maybe,
not yet. Right. I'm sure that's coming up for sure. But having said that, more so that you should be authentic and be yourself because that may be the future there. But now we crave more attention connection. I mean, more human connection more than ever. So thank you, Mike, for giving us the pearls on the AI. And we may do this like maybe every 6 months to kind of get updated and see if there's anything new because now is 2025 and maybe in beginning of 2026, we'll do another session, see what's new and what we can use as our everyday tools as well too. And I'll give you a little tip that I found out. I actually learned this from Mike was that I would load like an existing PowerPoint into a Gamma app and then you can ask it to even make a PDF for you. So it will make a beautiful PDF. Sometimes you can give it a prompt and it will make a PDF. So you may even bypass Canva sometimes as well. So that's something that I recently kind of found out with Gamma. And it's kind of like now my go-to presentation app now instead of using PowerPoint or Google. Having said that, hopefully you are using all 5 of these with the honorable mention or maybe consider using it as well to help you with your content creation and your even everyday tools. And we're here to help. Our mission is to enable you to know that you can leverage your medical expertise online outside of the clinic so that way you can live the life that you want to live and have that work life balance because you sacrifice too much of your life at least in your 20s. So what my daughter says to be a doctor at this point. So just know that there are options. So follow us on our Doctor Online Success group in school, doctors and with an S, onlinesuccess.com to find out more about how you can leverage your medical expertise online, how to work from one-to-one to one to thousand, one to many. Thank you so much for being here with us. I'm Dr. Ann Trum.
I'm Dr. Mike Luming.
We'll see you in the next episode.